Imagine waking up every morning with complete clarity. No constant urge to check your phone. No racing thoughts pulling your attention in 10 different directions. No feeling that your day controls you instead of you controlling your day. Imagine sitting down to work, study, build your dream, or spend time with your family and being fully present. Your mind is calm, your attention is steady, your actions have purpose. While the world around you becomes louder every year, you become quieter inside. While others lose themselves in endless distractions, you become stronger with every passing day. This is not a fantasy. It is not a secret reserved for a few gifted people. It is a skill, and like every skill, it can be trained. The ancient Stoic philosophers lived in a world very different from ours, yet they faced the same challenge that we face today. Their distractions were different, but the human mind was the same. People worried about status. They chased approval. They feared failure. They wasted time thinking about things they could not control. More than 2,000 years later, technology has changed, but human nature has not. Today, our greatest enemy is not a lack of intelligence. It is scattered attention. Every notification steals a little piece of your focus. Every unnecessary argument drains your energy. Every comparison on social media weakens your confidence. Every hour spent worrying about tomorrow takes away your ability to live today. Little by little, these moments become a life. The Stoics understood something that modern psychology continues to confirm. Wherever your attention goes, your life follows. Your habits shape your attention, and your attention shapes your future. Focus is not simply about getting more work done. It is about deciding what deserves your life. Many people believe they cannot concentrate because they lack discipline. In reality, they have trained themselves to become distracted. Every unnecessary scroll, every impulse to switch tasks, every habit of seeking constant entertainment teaches the brain to avoid deep attention. The good news is that the opposite is also true. Every moment you resist distraction, you become stronger. Every time you choose purpose over comfort, your mind becomes sharper. Every day you practice discipline, your future changes. This is why Stoicism remains one of the most practical philosophies ever created. It does not promise an easy life. It teaches you how to build an unshakable mind. The purpose of this video is not simply to motivate you for a few minutes. Motivation fades. Habits remain. Today, you will discover 10 Stoic habits that can completely transform the way you think, work, learn, create, and live. These habits are not complicated. They do not require expensive tools or special talent. They require something far more valuable, a decision to stop letting the world control your attention, a decision to reclaim ownership of your mind, a decision to become someone whose focus cannot easily be broken. If you practice these habits consistently, people may think you possess extraordinary self-control. In reality, you simply learn to protect your attention better than most people. Remember these words: the quality of your focus determines the quality of your life. Now let us begin with the first habit. Habit 1. Control your mind before the world. Does Marcus Aurelius woke up every morning knowing that the world would test his patience? He expected criticism. He expected difficult people. He expected unexpected problems. Instead of hoping for a perfect day, he prepared himself for reality. Most people do the opposite. They wake up and immediately surrender their minds. Before they even speak to their families, they open social media. Before they think about their goals, they consume other people's opinions. Before they decide how they feel, they allow the internet to decide for them. Without realizing it, they hand over control of their attention within the first few minutes of the day. The Stoics would call this a dangerous mistake. Your morning is more than the beginning of your day. It is the foundation of your thinking. Imagine your mind as a peaceful lake. When you first wake up, the water is calm. But if you immediately throw dozens of rocks into that lake through emails, breaking news, endless videos, arguments, and notifications, the water becomes disturbed. Once disturbed, it takes time to become calm again. This is why the first hour after waking up is incredibly valuable. Modern neuroscience tells us that our brains are especially receptive during the morning. The habits formed during this period influence attention, emotional regulation, and decision-making throughout the day. The Stoics understood this without modern science. They began each day by preparing their minds rather than entertaining them. Ask yourself this question: who owns your first hour? Is it you or is it everyone else? If your first hour belongs to social media, then social media shapes your thinking. If your first hour belongs to fear, fear shapes your thinking. If your first hour belongs to purpose, purpose shapes your thinking. There is a profound difference. Every morning you make an invisible choice. You choose whether to react or to lead. Reaction is automatic. Leadership begins with self-leadership. Imagine two people. The first wakes up and immediately checks every notification. They compare themselves with strangers online. They read stressful news. They answer messages before even deciding what matters most today. By breakfast, their mind is already exhausted. Now imagine another person. They wake up quietly. They breathe deeply. They spend a few minutes reflecting on what they can control. They write 3 priorities. They remind themselves that external events cannot steal their peace unless they allow them to. Both people had the same 24 hours, but they lived completely different lives. The difference was not intelligence, it was attention. Stoicism teaches that we cannot control the world, but we can always control our response. This principle is simple, yet it changes everything. Someone criticizes you. You cannot control their words. You can control your reaction. Traffic delays your plans. You cannot control the traffic. You can control your patience. A project becomes difficult. You cannot control every obstacle. You can control your effort. Little by little, this mindset removes unnecessary mental noise. Instead of wasting energy on what cannot be changed, you invest your attention where it creates results. Think about how much mental energy disappears every single day because people argue with reality. They complain about weather. They complain about politics. They complain about other people. They replay conversations that ended yesterday. They imagine disasters that never happen. Their minds become crowded with problems they cannot solve. No wonder focus disappears. The Stoics would ask a different question. What is within my control right now? That question immediately simplifies life. Right now, you can control your breathing. You can control your posture. You can control whether you continue learning. You can control whether you speak kindly. You can control whether you work with excellence. These small choices seem insignificant, but repeated daily, they create extraordinary people. The greatest athletes understand this. The greatest entrepreneurs understand this. The greatest artists understand this. They rarely waste attention on what they cannot influence. Instead, they return again and again to the work itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote many personal reflections, not because he wanted to impress others, but because he wanted to train his own mind. His journal became a daily conversation with himself. You can do the same. Every morning, write down 3 simple questions. What matters most today? What distractions must I avoid? How will I respond if today becomes difficult? These questions may take only 5 minutes, but they prepare your mind before the world has a chance to distract it. Another powerful Stoic practice is voluntary silence. The modern world fears silence. Every empty moment must be filled. Music, videos, podcasts, scrolling, constant stimulation. Yet silence is where focus is rebuilt. When you spend even 10 minutes sitting quietly without reaching for your phone, something interesting begins to happen. At first, your mind feels restless. Thoughts race everywhere. You become uncomfortable. Most people stop here. The Stoics would continue. Eventually, the mental noise begins to settle. Ideas become clearer. Priorities become obvious. Your emotional reactions become less powerful. Silence becomes strength. This is why many successful people intentionally create quiet moments before beginning important work. They understand that focus grows where noise disappears. Another Stoic lesson is learning to finish one task before beginning another. The human brain loves novelty. Every unfinished task creates another open loop inside your mind. Eventually, your attention becomes divided among dozens of incomplete responsibilities. The Stoics valued completion. Finish what is before you. Then move to the next thing, simple, powerful, life-changing. Imagine a sculptor creating a masterpiece. If he changes statues every 5 minutes, none will ever be completed. Your goals deserve the same patience. Every great achievement is simply focused attention repeated over time. Many people admire discipline without realizing what discipline really looks like. Discipline is often quiet. It looks like reading one more page, writing one more paragraph, completing one more workout, ignoring one more distraction, returning to the task after making a mistake. These small moments never become headlines, but together they build remarkable lives. The Stoics believed excellence comes from ordinary actions repeated consistently. Not dramatic effort, consistent effort. Perhaps this is why so many people underestimate daily habits. They want overnight transformation. Nature works differently. A tree does not grow 20 feet overnight. Grows a little every day. Eventually, it becomes impossible to move. Focus develops the same way. One protected. Morning becomes 2. 2 become 30. 30 become a year. Eventually, people wonder how you became so calm, so productive, so mentally strong. They never saw the thousands of quiet decisions that created the result. Remember this truth. Your future is hidden inside today's habits, not tomorrow's. Today's. If you begin controlling your mornings begin controlling your future in a positive way. When you protect the first hour of your day, you protect the direction of your life. And that is the first Stoic habit that dramatically increases focus. It begins before the world wakes up. It begins in silence. It begins with one simple decision. I will control my mind before the world tries to control it. That decision, repeated every morning, can change everything. Most people believe they have a focus problem. In reality, they have an attention problem. There is a difference. Focus is the ability to stay with one meaningful task until it is complete. Attention is where your mind chooses to go from one moment to the next. If your attention is constantly pulled in different directions, your focus never has a chance to grow. The modern world celebrates busyness. It praises people who answer emails while attending meetings, who text while eating dinner, who listen to podcasts while scrolling through social media, and who proudly say they are doing 5 things at once. It creates the illusion of productivity. Yet at the end of the day, many people feel exhausted without feeling accomplished. The Stoics would recognize this immediately. They would say that a divided mind is a weakened mind. A person who tries to walk in 10 directions at once never truly moves forward. This brings us to the second Stoic habit. Habit 2. Master the Stoic art of single tasking. Imagine an archer standing before a target. The wind is calm. His breathing is steady. His eyes never leave the center of the target. Every part of his body works together toward one purpose. Now imagine the same archer looking in 5 different directions while trying to release the arrow. The result is obvious. The arrow misses. Your attention works the same way. Every time you jump from one task to another, your mental energy scatters. Even after switching back, part of your mind remains attached to the previous activity. Psychologists sometimes call this attention residue. The Stoics did not use this term, but they understood the principle perfectly. A distracted mind cannot give its full strength to the present moment. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself repeatedly to do what was in front of him with complete sincerity, patience, and excellence. He did not write about doing many things at once. He wrote about doing the right thing at the right time with full attention. Think about your own day. How often do you open your laptop to work, only to check your phone 5 minutes later? How often do you begin reading a book, then suddenly remember a message you forgot to answer? How often do you sit with your family while secretly thinking about work? Your body may be present, but your mind is somewhere else. The Stoics believed that a meaningful life is built by being fully present wherever you are. When you work, work completely. When you rest, rest completely. When you listen, truly listen. This simple principle transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for excellence. One of the greatest enemies of focus is the belief that every interruption deserves an immediate response. It does not. Every notification is a request for your attention, but not every request deserves acceptance. The wise person chooses rather than reacts. Imagine your attention as a valuable currency. If someone asked you to hand them $100 every few minutes, you would refuse. Yet many people freely give away something even more valuable than money. They give away pieces of their attention all day long. Money can often be earned again. Time cannot. Attention cannot be recovered once it has been spent. This is why the Stoics guarded their minds so carefully. They knew that attention determines action, and action determines character. There is an old story about a sculptor working on a magnificent statue. Visitors constantly interrupted him with questions. Instead of becoming angry, he politely answered, then returned to his work with complete concentration. Day after day, he protected his attention. Years later, people admired the masterpiece without realizing that it was built one uninterrupted moment at a time. Your own goals deserve the same respect. Whether you are writing a book, studying for an exam, building a business, learning a skill, or improving your health, your greatest advantage is not talent. It is your ability to stay with the work long after everyone else has become distracted. Single tasking also teaches patience. We live in a culture that expects instant results. We want immediate success, immediate recognition, immediate happiness. Stoicism reminds us that nature works differently. Seeds do not become trees overnight. Rivers carve mountains through steady persistence, not sudden force. Your focus grows in the same way. Every uninterrupted hour strengthens your ability to concentrate. Every completed task increases your confidence. Every day of consistent effort trains your brain to value depth over speed. Consider how craftsmen approach their work. A master carpenter does not rush each cut because he understands that quality requires care. A skilled musician practices the same notes repeatedly until they become effortless. A great athlete repeats simple movements thousands of times before performing them. Perfectly under pressure, the world sees excellence. The Stoics see repetition. Excellence is simply disciplined. Repetition over a long period of time. There is another lesson hidden here. Many people confuse movement with progress. They stay busy every hour, but rarely move closer to what truly matters. Stoicism encourages us to ask a different question. Is this action bringing me closer to the person I want to become? If the answer is yes, continue. If the answer is no, have the courage to stop. That question alone can save years of wasted effort. To strengthen this habit, begin each morning by identifying one important task that deserves your complete attention. Not 10 tasks, not 20. One priority. Finish it before allowing less important activities to fill your day. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back. Do not criticize yourself. Do not become frustrated. Every return is a repetition. Every repetition builds mental strength. Focus is not the absence of distraction. Focus is the decision to return again and again. The Stoics understood that mastery begins with this simple act of returning. Habit 3, eliminate the noise. That doesn't deserve your attention. Imagine carrying a backpack everywhere you go. At first it contains only a few books. Then someone adds unnecessary tools. Another person adds heavy stones. Soon the backpack becomes so heavy that every step feels exhausting. Many people carry a mental backpack. Just like this, they fill it with other people's opinions. They carry old arguments. They replay embarrassing moments from years ago. They worry about events that may never happen. They compare themselves with strangers they have never done without realizing it. They spend enormous amounts of energy carrying burdens that provide no value. Stoicism invites us to ask one powerful question. Does this deserve my attention? Not everything deserves an answer. Not every criticism deserves a defense. Not every invitation deserves acceptance. Not every argument deserves participation. One of the greatest forms of wisdom is knowing what to ignore Ignoring is often misunderstood. Some believe it means pretending problems do not exist. Stoicism teaches something different. It means refusing to waste emotional energy on things that do not improve your character or your life. Imagine walking through a busy marketplace. Hundreds of voices call your name. Every seller wants your attention. Every sign promises happiness. Every distraction claims to be urgent. Would you stop at every single stall? Of course not. You already know where you are going. Life works the same way. When your purpose is clear, distractions lose much of their power. One reason modern life feels overwhelming is that information has become limitless. Every hour brings new headlines, endless opinions, and constant entertainment. The human brain was never designed to process this much stimulation without becoming exhausted. The Stoics would encourage us to become selective consumers of information. Ask yourself before consuming any content, will this help me become wiser? Will this improve my character? Will this make me more capable of serving others? Or am I simply feeding my curiosity while starving my purpose? These questions create powerful filters, not because knowledge is bad, because attention is limited. Every hour spent consuming meaningless information is an hour that cannot be invested in meaningful growth. There is another kind of noise that is even more dangerous, internal noise. This is the voice inside, your mind that constantly doubts your ability. You are not good. No, you are too late. Someone else is already better. What if you fail? The Stoics understood that the mind often creates suffering, long before reality does. Most fears never happen. Most worries solve nothing. Most imagined disasters remain imaginary. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the mind has the power to remove unnecessary suffering by changing its judgment. This does not mean ignoring real problems. It means refusing to create additional ones through imagination. Whenever anxious thoughts appear, ask yourself, is this fact or is this fear? That simple question creates space between you and your emotions. In that space, wisdom grows. Noise also enters our lives through unhealthy relationships. Some people constantly complain. Some constantly criticize. Some spread fear. Some drain your motivation every time you speak with them. Stoicism does not teach hatred toward such people. It teaches boundaries. Compassion does not require constant exposure to negativity. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It is responsible. Because the stronger your own mind becomes, the more positively you can influence others. Think about a lighthouse during a violent storm. It does not chase every wave. It remains firmly rooted, shining steadily regardless of the chaos around it. Your attention should become like that lighthouse, steady, purposeful, unaffected by every passing disturbance. This habit also applies to your physical environment. Look around the room where you spend most of your time. Is it organized, or does every object compete for your attention? A cluttered environment often creates a cluttered mind. The Stoics appreciated simplicity because simplicity reduces unnecessary decisions. The fewer distractions surrounding you, the easier it becomes to focus on what truly matters. Removing noise is not about creating a perfect life. It is about creating enough space for your best thinking to emerge. Remember, silence is not empty. Silence is where creativity speaks. Silence is where wisdom grows. Silence is where courage is strengthened. Silence is where purpose becomes clear. Every day, choose at least one period without unnecessary digital stimulation. Walk without headphones. Sit quietly for 10 minutes. Read a meaningful book without checking your phone. Observe your own thoughts instead of constantly escaping them. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that your mind is learning to become still again, and stillness is one of the greatest sources of focus. By eliminating unnecessary noise, you are not reducing your life. You are increasing the quality of every moment you live. As the Stoics understood so well, life is not measured by how much information passes through your mind. It is measured by how wisely you use your attention. Today, make one simple commitment. Choose one distraction that no longer deserves a place in your life. It could be endless scrolling, constant negative news, unnecessary arguments, mindless entertainment before bed, complaining, comparison. Choose one, remove it. Then notice what begins to grow in the space it leaves behind. Because whenever you remove distraction, you create room for purpose. Whenever you remove noise, you strengthen clarity. Whenever you protect your attention, you protect your future. And that is the third Stoic habit that can dramatically increase your focus, not by forcing your mind to work harder, but by refusing to let the unnecessary steal what belongs to your highest goals. By now, one truth should be becoming clear. Focus is not something you suddenly discover. It is something you build. It is built through hundreds of small decisions that most people never notice. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, purpose over distraction, and patience over impulse, you strengthen your ability to focus. The Stoics never believed that mental strength appeared overnight. They knew that character is forged the same way steel is forged, through repeated exposure to pressure. Without resistance, there is no strength. Without discipline, there is no freedom. That brings us to the fourth habit. Habit 4. Practice voluntary discomfort. One of the most misunderstood teachings of Stoicism is voluntary discomfort. At first, it sounds strange. Why would anyone willingly choose difficulty? Why would someone intentionally leave the comfort of convenience? The answer is simple. Because comfort, when experienced without limits, slowly weakens the mind. Imagine a sword that is never used. It may appear beautiful, but over time it becomes dull. The human mind works in much the same way. If every challenge is avoided, every inconvenience escaped, and every uncomfortable feeling immediately numbed, mental resilience slowly disappears. The Stoics understood this deeply. They intentionally practiced small acts of discomfort, not because suffering was the goal, but because strength was. Think about your daily routine. How many times do you reach for comfort without even realizing it? You feel slightly bored, so you check your phone. You feel stressed, so you seek distraction. You feel tired, so you postpone your responsibilities. You feel uncertain, so you avoid taking action. None of these choices seem dangerous, yet repeated hundreds of times, they teach your brain one powerful lesson: run away whenever life becomes uncomfortable. The problem is that every meaningful achievement requires discomfort. Learning a new language is uncomfortable. Building a business is uncomfortable. Writing a book is uncomfortable. Going to the gym is uncomfortable. Having difficult conversations is uncomfortable. Growing as a person is uncomfortable. If your mind has been trained to avoid discomfort, it will also avoid growth. This is why so many dreams remain unfinished. It is not because people lack talent. It is because they mistake temporary discomfort for a signal to stop. The Stoics saw discomfort differently. They saw it as evidence that growth was taking place. Imagine a young tree during a storm. The wind bends its branches, the rain pounds against its leaves, its roots are forced to dig deeper into the earth. Years later, that same tree stands stronger because of the storms it survived. Without resistance, its roots would never have grown so deep. Your character develops in exactly the same way. Every challenge strengthens your inner roots. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that obstacles are not interruptions to life. They are part of life. Many people wait for perfect conditions before beginning. They say, "I'll start when I feel motivated. I'll focus when life becomes easier. I'll work harder after things calm down." The Stoic response would be simple. Life rarely becomes easier. You become stronger. That is the difference. Strength is not found by avoiding difficulty. Strength is built by facing it with courage. This habit can be practiced in surprisingly simple ways. Wake up when your alarm rings instead of pressing snooze. Finish difficult work before entertaining yourself. Choose healthy food even when unhealthy options seem easier. Walk instead of driving when possible. Read a book instead of endlessly scrolling. Sit quietly with your thoughts instead of escaping every moment of boredom. Each of these decisions appears small, but every one of them sends the same message to your brain. I control my choices. Over time, this identity becomes incredibly powerful. You stop seeing yourself as someone controlled by emotions. You become someone guided by principles. There is another hidden benefit of voluntary discomfort. It teaches gratitude. When everything becomes convenient, people stop appreciating simple blessings. A warm meal, a peaceful home, a quiet morning, good health, meaningful friendships. Comfort loses its value when it is constant. The Stoics intentionally reminded themselves that nothing should be taken for granted. Gratitude naturally improves focus because it shifts attention away from what is missing and toward what is already present. A grateful mind is rarely a distracted mind. Think of an athlete preparing for competition. Training is difficult. The muscles ache. Progress is slow. There are days when motivation disappears completely, yet the athlete continues. Not because every workout feels exciting, because discipline has become stronger than emotion. The Stoics wanted us to develop that same relationship with life. Do what is right, not what is easy. The more often you choose disciplined action, the less power temporary emotions have over you. Eventually, difficult tasks no longer feel impossible. They simply become part of who you are. And that is one of the greatest gifts Stoicism can offer. Habit 5. Live according to your highest priorities. Imagine boarding a ship without deciding where you want to go. The wind changes. The waves move. Days pass, weeks pass, months pass. Eventually someone asks, "Where are you sailing?" You realize you have no answer. Many people live exactly this way. They stay busy every day. They answer messages, attend meetings, complete small tasks, solve endless problems. Yet years pass without meaningful progress because they never decided what truly mattered. The Stoics believed clarity begins with purpose. If you do not decide your priorities, the world will decide them for you. Other people's expectations will become your goals. Other people's emergencies will become your responsibilities. Other people's opinions will become your identity. This is one of the greatest reasons people lose focus. They are trying to chase too many directions at once. Imagine trying to hold 10 ropes while each one pulls in a different direction. Eventually, you lose your balance. Now imagine holding only one rope. Suddenly, your strength has direction. Focus is not about doing everything. It is about doing the most important things exceptionally well. Marcus Aurelius ruled one of the largest empires in history. His responsibilities were enormous, yet his journal repeatedly returned to one question. What is the right thing to do right now? Not tomorrow, not next month, right now. This question simplifies life. Instead of becoming overwhelmed by everything you could do, focus on what deserves today's attention. There is incredible peace in this way of thinking. You stop trying to win every battle. You choose the battles that matter. One powerful exercise is writing your 3 highest priorities in life, not 30. 3. Perhaps your family, your health, your purpose. If you have followed this journey from the beginning, you have probably noticed a pattern. The Stoics never separated focus from character. To them, focus was not simply the ability to concentrate on a task. It was the ability to direct your entire life toward what is good, meaningful, and within your control. A distracted mind rarely becomes a peaceful mind. A disciplined mind often becomes both peaceful and powerful. Every habit you have learned so far has been preparing you for the next stage, not simply becoming more productive, but becoming the kind of person whose attention cannot easily be stolen. Now let us complete this journey with the final 5 Stoic habits. Habit 6. Master your emotions. Instead of being controlled by them, one of the greatest myths about Stoicism is that Stoics never experienced emotions. Nothing could be further from the truth. Marcus Aurelius felt frustration. Seneca experienced fear. Epictetus faced pain and hardship. They were human beings. The difference was not that they lacked emotions. The difference was that they refused to let emotions become their master. Think about how many hours of focus are lost because of emotional reactions. Someone criticizes you in the morning. You replay their words all day. A mistake happens at work. You spend hours thinking about it instead of fixing it. Someone receives the promotion you wanted. Instead of improving yourself, you compare your life with theirs. The event itself lasts only a moment, but your reaction continues for hours, sometimes even years. This is where Stoicism offers incredible wisdom. Between what happens and how you respond, there is a space. Inside that space lives your freedom. Your first emotional reaction is often automatic. Your second response is a choice. That choice determines whether you remain in control. Imagine your mind as the captain of a ship. The waves are your emotions. You cannot stop the waves from appearing, but you can decide whether they control the direction of your ship. A wise captain acknowledges the storm without surrendering to it. The same is true for life. When anger appears, notice it. When fear appears, examine it. When sadness appears, respect it without allowing it to define your actions. The Stoics practiced observing emotions before acting on them. This simple pause changes everything. Instead of reacting immediately, ask yourself, will this matter 1 year from now? Many arguments disappear after that question. Many worries lose their power. Many distractions reveal themselves as unimportant. Emotional mastery is not emotional suppression. It is emotional wisdom. The strongest people are not those who never feel. They are those who know how to respond with reason instead of impulse. Every time you pause before reacting, your focus becomes stronger. Every time you choose understanding instead of anger, your peace becomes deeper. And every time you refuse to let temporary emotions dictate permanent decisions, your character grows. Habit 7. Practice daily reflection. Like Marcus Aurelius did something that changed history. He wrote to himself. His journal was never intended to become famous. It was not written for applause. It was written for improvement. Every day he examined his own thoughts. He questioned his actions. He corrected his mistakes. He reminded himself of the values he wanted to live by. Imagine how different your life would become if every evening you spent just 10 quiet minutes reflecting, not judging yourself, not criticizing yourself, simply learning. Ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I lose my focus? How can I improve tomorrow? These questions create awareness. Awareness creates growth. Growth creates confidence. Most people repeat the same mistakes because they never stop long enough to understand them. The Stoics believed that an unexamined day easily becomes an unexamined life. Reflection is where wisdom develops. During reflection, celebrate your progress. Do not focus only on your failures. Notice the moments when you remained patient. Notice the moments when you chose discipline. Notice the moments when you resisted distraction. Every small victory deserves recognition, because confidence grows through evidence. The more evidence you collect that you can control yourself, the stronger your self-belief becomes. Reflection is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming a little wiser than you were yesterday. Habit 8. Guard your time as your greatest wealth. Imagine receiving $86,400 every morning. There is only one rule. Whatever you do not spend by midnight disappears forever. Would you waste it? Of course not. Now realize something extraordinary. Every day you receive 86,400 seconds. Every single one disappears at midnight. Time is the only resource equally given to every person. The difference lies in how it is used. Seneca warned that people protect their possessions while giving away their time carelessly. How often do we spend hours on meaningless distractions without realizing we are spending pieces of our lives? The Stoics wanted us to become guardians of time. Before saying yes to any commitment, ask, is this worthy of my life? Not merely, is this enjoyable? But, is this meaningful? There is a profound difference. A focused life is not filled with endless activity. It is filled with intentional activity. Learn to say no with kindness. Every unnecessary commitment steals attention from your highest purpose. Protect your mornings. Protect your evenings. Protect the moments when your mind is at its strongest. Time is not simply passing. Life is passing. Treat it with respect. Habit 9. Build unbreakable consistency. Many people depend on motivation. The Stoics depended on discipline. Motivation is wonderful, but motivation changes. Some mornings you wake up inspired, other mornings you feel tired. Some days everything goes well, other days life feels heavy. If your habits depend on motivation, they will disappear whenever motivation does. Consistency is stronger. Imagine two people. The first works incredibly hard one day, then gives up for a week. The second works steadily every single day. Who succeeds? Almost always the second person. Nature rewards consistency. Water slowly shapes stone. The sun rises every morning. The seasons arrive on time. Greatness follows the same pattern. Small actions repeated faithfully become extraordinary achievements. Do not underestimate one focused hour every day. 1 hour becomes 7 hours every week, 30 hours every month, hundreds of hours every year. That is how expertise is built. The Stoics measured success differently. They did not ask, "Did I achieve everything today?" They asked, "Did I remain faithful to my principles today?" Because results often take time. Character develops immediately. Become the kind of person who keeps promises to yourself. If you promise to read, read. If you promise to exercise, exercise. If you promise to work without distraction for 1 hour, honor that promise. Every promise kept strengthens self-respect. Every promise broken weakens trust in yourself. Eventually, discipline becomes your identity, and identities are far more powerful than temporary goals. Habit 10. Live every day as if it could be your last. This may be the most powerful Stoic habit of all. The Stoics reflected regularly on the reality of mortality, not because they were pessimistic, because they wanted to live fully. When you remember that life is limited, distractions lose much of their appeal. Petty arguments become meaningless. Endless comparison becomes foolish. Procrastination becomes dangerous. You stop assuming you have unlimited tomorrows. Instead, you ask, if today were my final ordinary day, would I spend it this way? Would I waste hours arguing online? Would I postpone my dreams again? Would I ignore the people I love? Would I continue living according to fear? This perspective creates urgency, not panic. Purpose. Every sunrise becomes a gift. Every conversation becomes valuable. Every opportunity becomes meaningful. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that every action could be performed as though it were the last worthy action of his life. Imagine approaching your work with that mindset. Imagine speaking to your family with that mindset. Imagine treating strangers with that mindset. Your attention would naturally move toward what truly matters. Mortality is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create clarity. The awareness that life is temporary makes every meaningful moment infinitely precious. As we reach the end of this journey, remember one important truth. Focus is not found. It is created. It is created every morning when you choose purpose over distraction. It is created every afternoon when you continue working after excitement disappears. It is created every evening when you reflect instead of making excuses. The world will always compete for your attention. There will always be another notification, another headline, another opinion, another distraction promising instant pleasure. But remember this: everything that captures your attention also shapes your future. Choose carefully. The Stoics never promised an easy life. They promised something far more valuable: a life directed by wisdom instead of impulse, a life guided by principles instead of emotions, a life built through discipline instead of comfort. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. Imagine waking each morning with clarity. Imagine completing meaningful work without constant distraction. Imagine remaining calm when others panic. Imagine becoming someone whose presence inspires confidence because your mind is steady. That future does not begin next year. It begins with your next decision. Every focused minute matters. Every disciplined action matters. Every courageous choice matters. You do not need to transform your entire life today. You only need to protect this moment, then the next, then the next. That is how remarkable lives are built, one focused decision at a time. The ancient Stoics believed that your